SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stongo, Gary Fife, Jaho Jefkados, Mvskoke Radio, Mabu Hajit Wachkis. Welcome to our program here on this beautiful mulgy day here. It's kind of nice to have a dry one after a while. I was beginning to wonder whether or not the 40 days and 40 nights would ever end, but maybe we get a break here. We got a couple things we'll be sharing with you today, and also we have one of our summer youth interns working with us. We have Lindsay Heck, who's joining us this morning, and this is what, your first experience in radio?
First time ever.
First time ever.
Nerve-wracking.
Okay, well, it'll be a little less nerve-wracking if I turned your mic up, I think, a little bit. All right, now we have a couple of things that we'll be sharing with you in our discussions today. First of all, we'll be speaking with Lauren Aragon. He's the head of the Akonav Fashion House, brand new Native American designer, and he's made quite an impact, and he's got a dress that will be walking the runway of the Tony Awards this year in June. And then in the second portion, we have an old friend come back, Ruth Bible. She's working with the film festival at the Circle Theater, and will be talking to us about that upcoming event. So first of all, let's see if we can get our guest on the line here. Mr. Aragon, are you with us, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. You scared me there for a second. We have been noticing over the past few years that there has been more and more of a presence, a Native American presence on the fashion scene. We've spoken to other designers and noticed a really interesting story attached to, is it Akonav? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, Acoma, Pueblo, and Navajo, right? That's your heritage?
I'm Acoma, and my wife is Navajo.
Okay.
So it's a combination of our cultural names.
I better put her in, or you might hear more of it later on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but Akonav has made an impression, and you've got a significant, what would you call it, event, project, opportunity coming up on June the 9th in New York City. First of all, tell us. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. You're right. Native American fashion has kind of made its mark in the greater fashion realm, I like to say. And coming up in June, we have our very first opportunity with my brand, Akonav, to outfit a lady who's going to walk the red carpet at the Tony Award.
That's pretty
amazing. Her name is Colleen Jennings Roggenstack. She is Arizona State University's executive director for the Gamage Auditorium, which brings in a lot of the Broadway showcases to Phoenix, and also the vice president for cultural affairs at Arizona State. So she reached out to me, and she is also Arizona's only Tony Award voter, and has been selecting designers from the Arizona Phoenix area to outfit her at past events for the Tony Awards. And this year she drew our card, and we're very honored to be outfitting her.
All right, for the listeners who aren't familiar, I know there are a number of awards and big, huge national things going on around the country. Emmys, Oscars. What is the Tony?
The Tony are the awards for all the Broadway shows. So anything theater that has come through the Broadway scene, all these huge names like Rent, Cat, Wicked, just to name a few.
Phantom.
They're all theatrical productions.
Phantom of the Opera.
And Phantom of the Opera, yeah.
I think that one's my favorite. That or maybe maybe Chorus Line. I don't know. But this is quite an opportunity for you. Now, I'm interested. How did this come about? Was she familiar? Is she a friend, or she just kind of noticed a bit of your work in passing? How'd that happen?
I think a couple things are on our side. For one, I'm an alumni from Arizona State University, and I have kind of made a mark in the education scene there too. I just, with my whole change in career from being a mechanical engineer to doing the fashion thing. But last year around this time, I actually designed a dress for Walt Disney World to be shown at Epcot Center, and that made the news quite a bit here in Phoenix and got around. The story was still running several times earlier this year. We made a cover of a magazine here in Arizona, and that kind of caught the attention of the people there, her people on ASU, and that prompted them to reach out to me. So basically, I came in contact with one of her assistants who follows me on Instagram, and she had seen what I had been doing, and she was basically the one who ran to Colleen and told her, I think this is our guy that we want to go with, or this is the designer we want to go with this year. He's got very meaningful designs, and will be a great thing for you to collaborate. So they reached out to me online. I received the email asking for a couple of my designs that they liked, and I unfortunately didn't have it readily available because I work made to order, so a lot of my stuff is just sample size. But I really wanted to do this for them, and I stepped out of what I was doing and brought them on board and said, well, we'll make something specific to you. For one, this is a great opportunity for Native American fashion to be in a different spotlight with her representing my brand and Native American in general, Native American fashion. So I brought her aboard to get the process going for her.
I want to ask you about something here. Now, we normally, you watch any award show and there's always the red carpet sequence. And many of the celebrities walking in will be wearing a dress or something with huge names on them, like Chanel and Dior and
Right.
Versace and things like that. So how do you feel now that Akanav will be among the lofty elite there?
I'm very honored. This is a very humbling experience, and this is one of the goals that I've wanted to reach, was to be recognized among those kind of names. It's going along the lines of what we set out to do, and that's breaking outside of our Native American communities to showcase to the world that we have every right, we have every capability to be a part of these kind of events and on the runway, to showcase the designs that we can produce on our own, and that we have every right to represent ourselves properly and respectfully. And so this is one of those we win another victory kind of things, and we're still here, we're still very much representing ourselves. And again, it's a showcase to the world that we have these capabilities, these creative ideas that can still be highlights to huge events like this.
In the past, I have seen work of some people who were local to a particular area who kind of ventured into this area, and I guess they never took off, so to speak, but for various reasons. One I recall was a very enthusiastic, serious effort, but the execution wasn't that hot. You looked at it, there's a good idea, but it looks like somebody got a second-hand singer out and stitched this together. Now, I would presume the quality bar has been raised in recent years so that anyone who can get this kind of recognition has got to put out a pretty special, beautiful, intriguing kind of a dress or an outfit. So, what do you think about that? Where are we quality-wise, you think?
Gary, I think we've always been held to high standards of quality, and just being an artist to start, I got into a lot of the Native American Indian market, as we call them, and the standards there are pretty high as far as the quality of work that we have to bring, not just the quality of the actual creation, but also the quality in the materials. When I set out, I really wanted to start from the top down, so to speak. I wanted to be in that realm of already the high-end couture fashion design, because we had already been making those things. The bead work, the leather work, all this work that we've already had around us for centuries has already been at a level of artistry that a lot of designers that come into the scene have not really seen or have not even heard of. So I think with the designers that I've showcased with and that I've met and learned and see online, getting recognition or seeing the news, they're already there in that quality, that high quality realm. And really, it's just a persistence and continued showcase of the work that needs to be there. And there needs to be a little extra oomph, so to speak, to push your work out there, to keep it going, not to stop at the first little choke or the first little sign of failure. I think that just the way I've always seen it, I was the same way. I definitely had to change my ways of thinking and just be headstrong in knowing that my work is designed for a specific set of people. It's for a certain income level, if you will, and those are the people I need to target. So the quality work is there. It's the quality of how we do the business that needs to step up.
You said something that kind of intrigues me here a bit. You mentioned, more of the traditional kinds of fashion worn, and what came to my mind was a powwow. You go to a powwow and you see these gorgeous buckskin dresses. You see just amazing work on ribbon shirts and jingle dresses, and the shawls and everything like that. Now, have we sort of been caged, do you think, by people thinking that's the only kind of thing we can do?
I believe so. Yeah, that's a very good point. And again, that's one of the things that when I set out to do this, and that I wanted to break away from. I didn't just want my work to be seen by natives because a lot of us are all too familiar with what we can do. I wanted to show this to other people, non-native people that had never seen this before. One, to again give them the education and the knowledge that we are very much still thriving. We are very much still thriving communities, and that we have this creativity that we just want to share. Again, those regalia that we make, the garments that we make for our traditional practices, those are still very much fashionable, and then they include some modern fabrics, some modern twist to it too, and we're also advancing that as we go along, even in our traditional garments. But I think yeah, we definitely need to think more outside of those things and showcase that differently, because those type of regalia and things like that for our traditional practices, those belong to us, and those are definitely things we can't just make for anybody. So those are earned, those are honorable garments, and for me, I wanted to. Those little meaningful things are universal ideas of peace and happiness and good things. So I wanted to take some of those elements, if you will, and put those into my garments and have that connection to my culture in that way.
So you don't think you'll be designing any buckskin for the runway then? That's up to other tribes. We are in my culture. About the only thing buckskin that we have in the traditional wear is our shoes or wraps, like moccasin wraps. And my dad, my father used buckskin in his leather work, his purses, wallets. You never know. I actually am starting to become influenced in those other arts, and I want to incorporate them somehow into my work. Right, and buckskin's pretty hot in the desert.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on here a little bit. Let me shift gears here. Now, I noticed in your bio that you were formerly a designer for military programs and things like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I came from a military design background. I was a mechanical engineer. I finished at Arizona State in '04 with my degree in mechanical engineering. Since '04, I stuck around Phoenix area. I did work as a test engineer on the General Motors Proving Ground here in Arizona, Phoenix, and did testing for a couple years on vehicles, testing brakes. I eventually moved on to military application design work, designing seats that absorb the shock of mines in a lot of our ground vehicles for the military, and actually hold 2 patents in that with a group with my teams that I was a part of in that, and have now, and then after that moved into virtual simulation training with the company in Tempe that was creating basically huge video games for true to life events for military and law enforcement use to train in. So basically they created the environment, hostile environment in which officers and men and women of the military would engage in and get training for. So I designed a lot of the air laser system weapons that were used in the simulation trainings, and that was probably the best experience I ever had with that last job, because it incorporated everything I love to do with design, where I got most of my graphic design work experience. But always on the side was art, and I always wanted to do something with my creativeness, and was always intrigued by the advances in our Native American cultural arts and wanted to be a part of that somehow.
Well, that's leading to my next question, actually. So
Okay.
you go from a career that you're comfortable with, I presume pays pretty well, and all of a sudden you go from designing military simulations and things to designing fashion.
Right.
I presume most of it, your attention's been on dresses for clothing for women.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess how did that come about? That's quite a leap.
There was a couple of different things that were happening. For one, I was definitely changing passion in what I was doing. I still love doing engineering, but with everything that was going on the background with the art and just how it was being received by a lot of people and the people that I was showing it to, I just didn't want it to die or just be have half my passion, half my effort into. So we saw this, my family, my wife and I, and I think so did my supervisor at the time. And in a talk between my supervisor and I, we managed to figure out, the shift in my passion, and that my work as an engineer wasn't getting as much attention. And so he actually was the one that encouraged me to try this, and just the support I had at the time was just great enough that I just couldn't say no. So if I had walked away and it just didn't work, my supervisor was willing to give me a second chance at coming back and do the engineering thing again. So I was, okay, this is great. I don't have to worry about having to go look for another job right away.
Right. Make sure the bills get paid. Right. Now,
right, but you're right. It was a very rewarding job, and it was probably the biggest challenge, the biggest fear of just moving on to something that I wasn't sure was going to work out the way I wanted it to. But that's pretty much how it played out.
Okay, well, I still think that's quite a leap. Now, here's a weird question. Do any of your experiences and backgrounds in designing these simulations and other things, does any of that bleed over into what you do in the fashion world? I mean, techniques perhaps, or ideas or images or anything? Is there any crossover there?
Yeah, actually I found quite a few, and one of the biggest things for me was reverse engineering. Everything I do as a fashion designer has been self-taught for the most part. I learned the basics of sewing from my mother and my aunt, who had been sewing for years, and to really understand the construction of a garment was really using the old-fashioned way of engineering other newer products and improving upon them, was taking things apart and figuring out how they go back together. I think there's a lot of problem solving all the time in fashion, and a lot of things like that I used to do, sitting in front of a computer trying to figure out how things would fit, how things would work. And as I kept going on, it was also discovering new fabrics, new materials, and that's big in engineering. Understanding how they work, or what their capabilities or their benefits are, and also how things move. The biggest challenge was figuring out the curvature of the body and understanding the organic, just the organic curvature of things. Moving from straight lines and sharp edges to that was probably the biggest challenge. And every day, and even math is still very much a big part of fashion. Doing measurements and figuring out how fabric that's laying flat is going to change into this three-dimensional, basically, object that's going to be worn. It's always thinking ahead and figuring those things out. But aside of that, there was a lot of experience I had in dealing with people and talking to people and engaging with other people who were non-native and understanding what they were looking for. So even those type of skills, communication skills, came into place, and which is what had to help me break out of my shell and be more interactive with people, to tell them about my work, to show them what I could do. So I think with all the experiences I had as an engineer, they've all come back together and helped me through this.
Okay, where does the spark come from? What sort of things inspire you to get this idea in your mind and then work on it through completion? What's that spark?
The foundation for a lot of my work is really the matrilineal system that we believe in. I was brought up traditionally by my grandfather and my grandmother, who really taught me a lot of things about what we believe in as Yakima people, and that today still plays a huge part in what I do. Everything that I start from is based on how do we honor women, how do we honor their strength and empowerment for what they can do, their capabilities, their ability to create life. So the biggest inspiration just comes from the celebration of that. How do we amplify that through fashion? How can I amplify that through fashion? It's already there. Everything I do is just an encouragement to women to break out of to embrace their strength and embrace their beauty and just showcase it and be living it up to the best that they can be. That's always been the inspiration for everything I do. And very closely followed to that is our pottery art. Yakima Pueblo is mostly known for their fine line black and white designs, and in more recent artistic developments, I'll say, have been on polychrome designs with using some ochres and a couple of colors. But you look around, and if you're anything familiar with pottery here in the Southwest, we're big. There's a lot of designer or artists, potters that have really made their mark in the Native American art scene with the pottery art, and we have a huge history. And that's just, again, those are stories that are told on clay vessels that I wanted to tap into, because there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of celebration of just the beauty of life around us, and those designs are timeless. They were beyond their time, and they wanted. And again, there's a connection to culture. There's a connection to ancestry, and it goes back for centuries. And just for me, an engineer and everything that I've been into, it just calls to me to want to present that more, to want to make that a more wearable art form. So
okay, let me interrupt you there for a second. Let's have you respond to, I guess, the reverse side, the flip side of that coin. Are there things that you will not do, images or ideas that you would not want to incorporate into your work and that you do not like to see others do?
Yeah, I think one of the major things is we're such a sacred culture. I do not want to intrude upon what's true to us, what gives us our identity, what is most sacred to us. So I definitely stay away from a lot of that, and it's been a huge effort by my tribe to really keep those things behind closed doors, because those are things that we don't want diluted by the outside influence, and we want to keep for ourselves, because again, that's our identity. So I would definitely not incorporate anything that's sacred, which unfortunately has already happened through other non-native designers, thinking that they're honoring us in some way, and that's just it's not that way.
Right. What comes to mind is Urban Outfitters and their recent debacle with the Navajo panties and whiskey bottles and stuff like that.
Right. Well, yeah, there's certain levels of appropriation or inappropriate or disrespectful display of things, and yeah, so one of those is that I can't ever go that deep with what I do. There's a lot of ideas already that are universal that we can share, and those are very much already shared through our art. Again, I'm just changing up the art form and presenting it in a different way, but also using other designers or other Native American images, other that are respectful to those tribes.
Would that include the wearing of war bonnets by young women?
Yeah, that's not part of anything that Acoma is known for. We do not do the war bonnet thing, and I, for one, understand its significance, its cultural significance, and sacredness to the tribe. I'm not going to do that, and that's, again, and those are things that are just items that are taken and presented disrespectfully a lot of times on the runway, unfortunately, and needs to stop. And the way that needs to stop is, again, for us to step forward, us Native American designers to step forward and represent ourselves properly, respectfully, and teach others why this is wrong, and that it can't go on.
Right. And if they continue, well, that's a different story.
Right.
All right. Let's get your perspective here now on your industry, as we'll call it an industry here. As I said earlier, there are a number of Native designers stepping forward. I think, well, from what I see, there's more of a presence there. How would you describe it, and how would you feel you're doing and educating the rest of the world about what's real and what's not? How are we doing, so to speak?
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good as far as getting noticed. I, for one, have seen a lot more media coverage on the efforts that Native American designers are doing, presenting their work, presenting their designs, and unfortunately, though, there's really not a huge presence outside of our Native community. There's a lot of great designers that are coming through, and I see them at a lot of the Indian markets, which is a really great place to start and really great exposure, because you bring in a lot of non-Native collectors and viewers of the arts, and through that, I think it's getting more and more noticed. And I, again, one step outside of that realm to not just be able to showcase to people in our community and try to showcase this to a bigger audience. The thing that I see as being a little bit of us being behind in is how to present our fashion business-wise, having that business background to be able to push our designs forward, push our work forward, to help us survive and help us grow as a business. Those are things that we continue to see where I think you had mentioned in the beginning that people get only so far, and then it kind of fizzles out or dies out. And we push forward as far as trying to help others get educated in what they need to do for their brand to grow. I was fortunate to go through a program with Phoenix Fashion Week here in Arizona to be able to understand what the business is like in the fashion industry. And it's really cutthroat. It's really tough. It's a huge challenge. And we have to, keep with the times and also know that we're always going to be challenged every day. Every day is work for us. I mean, we barely get enough time to sit back and kind of enjoy things, but we find those times, and it's always just, I don't know, it's 16-plus hour days to market ourselves, to design, to go do the sewing, and that's just me. I want to do those things for my brand and my company.
All right, well, let's talk about how your brand and your company will be showcased on June, what is it, the 9th, is it?
Yes.
Okay, these will be at the Tony Award red carpet, the fashion premiere parade. Now, if someone's following that and wants to see your work, what should they look for? What kind of dress did you design for Colleen Jennings Roggensack? And
Correct.
Yeah, right. So what should they look for?
So this is influence from my latest collection in 2019. I revisited a lot of the black and white designs that are what the Acoma people are known for, and I presented that in fashion. Colleen was actually interested in two different designs, one that was a all red design with black markings, and then a white design, a white gown that had some markings with my idea of shattered pottery pieces coming together to create a design. So this is kind of the hybrid of those two designs. And the gown will be all red and have the markings in black that are laid out in the Acoma Pueblo pottery art style. Basically a magnification of design, if you will, kind of like you're zoomed into just one specific part of the pottery.
Right.
So designs will be all laid out. I did a lot of applique work to put those designs in the dress. Some signature designs, which some of the fans will recognize, are what I like to call lattice work. So some kind of see-through material action that'll be part of it. It's a full gown, strapless gown with and it also carries a back apron or a cape.
Mm.
Some elements that Colleen really just loved in what I did in a couple of designs. She thinks, for one, that the cape is representative of like a superhero,
Right.
and really wanted to be presented like that. And the color red for us is always an homage to ancestry. It's a splash of red. It's always in our garments, usually in the sash that's worn around the waist during ceremonial times or during dances. And the symbol of strength, the symbol of power. Again, it's an homage to ancestry, but also this year it carries a little more meaning with the whole creating of an awareness for missing and murdered indigenous women. And
wonderful.
Colleen Jennings Roggensack was just honored to be wearing those colors to represent that. So the dress carries meaning, and a lot of what we do carries meaning, has some kind of story behind it. And I felt that this was what amplified Colleen's.
Right.
strengths
Well,
and power.
thank you for mentioning that. That's so wonderful. We are highly supportive of those programs here. Now, as we wrap this up, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they go about it?
Yeah, so we're online with our work and everything, aconav.com, and Aconav is ACONAV.com, and we're on all major social media outlets, Instagram at Aconav, Facebook at Aconav, and on Twitter at Aconav_fashion.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Lauren, I don't usually watch many award shows, but I'm going to take this one in just to see your work.
Yeah, we definitely hope we'll catch a glimpse of it.
Okay, Mado, Lauren Aragon, thank you, and we'll wish you much success.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
All right. We are going to take a short pause here, and then we will be back to chat with Ruth Bible about this upcoming film festival in Tulsa. Stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio here on The Brew. Welcome back to Mvskoke Radio here on The Brew. We're welcoming back an old friend here, Ruth Bible. You actually worked on this program some years back, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, well, Hesche, Stongo. Yerimahe. Okay. Well, you're here to talk with us about an annual film festival up in Tulsa. What have you got?
We have Saturday, June 8th at the Philbrook Museum. We'll be having a Netflix A Chill event. And we'll be having our special guest, which is Marcus Lavoie, who plays Uncle Frank Yazzie in the series Chambers.
Now, there have been a number of Native film festivals around the nation. One on the West Coast has been going for quite a while. This is one for Oklahoma exclusively, or how does this work?
Yes, we have them in Tulsa and Tahlequah.
Tulsa, okay.
And Tahlequah.
What kind of things do you like to premiere or showcase?
They're all Native Indigenous films, and Tribal Film Festival is a woman-owned group. And so we've done, in November of 2017, we had Hostiles. And,
right.
West Studio was guest of honor. And then in June of 2018, we had Michael Gray Eyes. He
Right.
was in Woman Walks Ahead. He played Sitting Bull.
Right,
And he was our special guest.
Yeah, I got a chance to chat with Wes when he was down for the Hostiles premiere. Now, these are films that may not break into the big Hollywood distribution kind of gig, what we call independent films. Is that pretty much what you
Yeah,
got?
they're pretty much independent films, and we get films from all over. And it's, our stories that need to be told.
Right.
So
Well, that sounds like a good basis for the entire effort. Is that because nobody else is putting them out there?
no one. I mean, we've got some from the Maori people, and we've got Canadians all over the world.
So it's not just exclusively Native American.
Yeah, it's all over, indigenous.
Indigenous all over. That's quite a growing field now. Why did you think Tulsa needed this kind of thing?
Our founder, Celia Xavier, she's the one that coordinates everything, and gets our special guests to come visit with us and stuff. And so it's growing. It's a good event. Every event's good. We have workshops, and in June of last year we had Angelique Midthunder. She's a casting director, and two of our attendees that came, Marco Fuller, he played in The Sun, and Ashley Merritt. They're both in LA now working on she's working on the Sun, and so is he. And he worked on Wendigo up north, so that should be coming out too pretty soon. But they both got these parts in these films through our film festival, the contacts and the workshops.
Right.
So it's more than just a film festival. It's about workshops. You want to get in that field, there are resources that we have, contacts and resources that help.
So it's more than just...
Yeah, it's more than a film festival.
Well, how are we doing, so to speak, is a question I always like to put to people. Now, we all grew up with the old Hollywood Western of all these Italian guys with the 5 o'clock shadow with this ridiculous braided wig on and a couple of feathers stuck in there and the woo-woo-woo stuff. I recall we used to joke about when a cowboy fired his gun, 6 guys would fall off their horses. So how are we doing? How far have we come? How would you describe it?
I think we've come a long way. I mean, we've got a lot of stars. You have Zahn McLaren, Martin Sensmeyer, all these young Native actors that are coming up, and a lot of feature films.
Well, of course, the women too, Tattoo and
Yes.
Irene and
all of them.
Koyanka Kelcher.
Yeah.
Seems like the industry now is paying more attention to Native American movies, in spite of something ridiculous like The Lone Ranger. We were seeing more of these kinds of things, particularly for a long time. Canada was a very strong proponent and put out incredible amounts of film. So we're now at more authentic portrayals of our peoples and cultures and questions and answers.
Telling our stories.
Is there an example that comes to mind, or do you have a favorite?
I think my favorite so far is Woman Walks Ahead, because it is history, and that's how it was. And Michael Gray, I said during the filming, it was during the standoff at Standing Rock.
Oh my gosh.
And so they were filming at that same time, and he said you could see them over, in the distance, the protesters and stuff. And he's Canadian, but he feels everything. They've had residential schools just like we had boarding schools. There's a lot of similarities with Canada,
including
us.
atrocities.
Yes.
The fields are very fertile for those kinds of films and things. But we've seen actually kind of a shift, perhaps, or a growing trend in films about and by Native Americans more accurately portraying our contemporary lives. And the problems is still there, but we seeing some solutions or Native people being happy and have fun. So does your list of projects here, does that reflect that change towards the positive? How would you say that happens?
I think it is helping, it's changing it, it's moving it along, and you've got more people that are more aware of it and more people that are participating in it. And like I said, we need more, our stories told, we need more filmmakers, directors, actors, all of the above.
Now, it seems like we're making more of a presence, and the roles that are being filled now are by Native people, not some imported Italian or Asian, this kind of thing. And yet we're still stuck with something as stupid as Ridiculous Six or The Lone Ranger. No apologies to Mr. Depp, but, oh my God, that was horrible. I'm sorry. Do you feel like then that kind of thing is fading away, going on its own way with being replaced by better, more high-quality Native American films?
Yes.
How so?
Just everything, the products that are coming out, the movies, like Chambers. I mean, it's about a young girl, and she's San Carlos Apache, Savon Elra Rose. She's San Carlos Apache. And the movie is about, she has a heart transplant. And it's her uncle that's raising her. And there's a lot of Indian humor in it, that you'll get. And that's what I like to see is movies that's got, how we joke with each other.
Oh, yeah.
And that Indian humor, it's something a lot of people don't get. I guess you have to be one to get it.
In other words, you could see somebody pointing with their lips and not knowing what it means, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's either they've got something stuck in their throat or they're pointing at someone. The kinds of things we're seeing now, there's the fry bread jokes, and I remember was it Powwow Highway when talking about Indian cars, things like that. Now that's something that's real for us. That's part of what we deal with and actually have fun with. Cause, we have this Indian car competition during festival. Boy, did I see some Indian cars. I think one of them actually died on the way of this little parade there.
Had to be towed.
No, a couple guys jumped out and pushed. True Indian style,
Really?
True Indian remedy. But we're seeing a lot of that change now, but also dealing with some of the internal kinds of things that plague us. Does your list of films then go that far? Does it get into the internals, so to speak?
A lot of them do. We have a lot of shorts that are submitted and that we show, at the film festivals. And they're like, some are anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And a lot of them are local. And, we have a lot of filmmakers in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But it's coming up. It's coming around. And
maybe you've got a list there. Maybe you can run through a few of them for us.
the ones that we have that we'll be showing Saturday is
Now that's Saturday,
June 8th. At Philbrook Museum. It starts at 6 o'clock. We're going to be premiering Blackwater, the series, and Boise Esquera is the director. And in the movie, was Richmond Branscombe and Gary Farmer are in it.
a familiar name.
Yeah, we know both of them. They've both been here before. Well, Gary was here at the festival a few years back.
Right.
And then we have Sweetheart Dancers, which is by Ben Alexis Dupree, and it's in honor of Pride Month. It's called Sweetheart Dancers. So we're showing that. And then, of course, the Chambers. Marcus Lavoie, he plays Uncle Frank. He'll be there Saturday with the meet and greet, with the Q&A, question and answer at the end of the movies.
How many other cultures are represented in this list?
Marcus Lavoie is White Earth Reservation, Chippewa. and Siobhan, she is San Carlos Apache.
Right.
And Gary Farmer, I'm not sure what tribe he is.
Oh gosh, I think one of the East Coast tribes, isn't he?
I think he's Canadian.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
It's pretty East Coast. Now gosh, I just forgot what I was going to ask you. There you heard it first on Mvskoke Radio. Gary Fife loves it. We have always a chance to see a lot of things that we never thought might appear on film. Directors and people, and of course familiar actors. Now, does this film festival turn down films, people who might want to show something that you think is not appropriate for?
Yeah, we screen them. We look at them, watch them ourselves and everything, and see if it's appropriate for our film festival. But we do get a lot of submissions, short films and stuff, and we encourage it, because that's what we want, is our story told and it out there,
Right.
by us, for us,
Mm-hmm. Are there a couple that made you fur on your neck stand up?
Oh yes, that's a couple of them.
For example, what did you see that really? You don't have to say the name.
Yeah, well, it's just things that aren't appropriate or that shouldn't be put out there or discussed, or we went to a film festival in Norman a few months back, and there was just some stuff in one of the films that I think you should be just kept to yourself.
Go out and kick something.
Yeah, and but it's like I say, it takes all kinds to get it going and to keep it going.
Right.
So we encourage everybody to do it. And plus, a portion of the proceeds from this Netflix and Chill Saturday event, a portion of it will go to Oklahoma flood victims.
Oh,
So-
great.
So we want to be, part of the community, because we are part of the community. So we want to, help and assist any way we can. So a portion of it will go to that.
Well, there are Mvskoke people that are in that category, unfortunately.
Yeah, all over Mvskoke and Cherokee and Osage. A lot of us, we're all in this area, and it affected all of us.
And now, how long has this festival been going on?
This is going into the 5th year.
5th year? Is it gaining ground attendance-wise or popularity?
It fluctuates. Sometimes, we're sold out, and then sometimes, there's a good amount of people that show up, but it's not sold out. But, like I said, we do the workshops and help people. We have casting directors, filmmakers. We've had Lucas Brown Eyes. November, he did a workshop, and he's got a series that's on TV. And then we've got a lot of them that are working in Netflix series.
Right. That seems to be fertile ground these days.
Yeah, and they seem to be a big supporter of Native films, indigenous films.
Now, who are these supporters that show up for these screenings? Are they mostly Staheki or?
No, surprisingly, it's a lot of
Stajatis?
Stajatis. A lot of, and they're not just Creeks. They're Osage, Cherokee. Some come from the other side of the, western part of the state, and some people come from Albuquerque, New Mexico, Texas. So we get a lot of different natives from all over.
And what are your crowd size estimates?
Usually like 100, 150. And then that's not including the workshops. We have the workshops, and they sign up before, so we'll know estimate how many we have attending.
Okay, I remember attending Miko, and it was a full house. People were just jammed in there, munching popcorn and having a good time. Now, has the feedback been favorable, or kind of oh well, that's nice picture about Indians? What have you heard, or what are you aware of?
When we have a special guest, it's a lot more, because they get to meet the person that's in the movie, and there's a lot of interaction with them. Because when Michael was here, Michael Grayhouse was here, he took the time and visited with people, and he sat in the audience. He said every showing, every premiere that he went to, he would sit in the audience. And that's just the kind of people that, draws in the people. People are personable to.
That seems like it would give them at least a small gauge of how well they've done, how their work is being received.
And when he was here last year, he left here and went to New York to a premiere there. And then he was interviewed on NPR radio, and he was talking about creeks, how we were forced from our homelands, and he was talking about it on there, on his next interview at NPR. So he's aware of the tribal situations all over.
Yeah.
And that takes it a long way. It helps it.
When you screen the submissions, what is it that you look for? What catch your eyes and ears?
The content and the interest. If it's, I guess, Native related is what, and it's appropriate.
I'll put you on the spot. How would you define appropriate?
Culturally, that's the most important thing.
And
Because like you said, you've got Lone Ranger, you've got all these fantasy Indians, and then you've got the real ones, us. So I think that's more important than anything.
Right. Now, do you see, I guess, the future for Native films doing what? Growing, expanding? Have we hit an upper limit, a glass ceiling, so to speak? What do you think?
I think there's no limit.
No limit?
I don't think there's a limit. I mean, you've got all these Native actors, you've got these supporting, Sundance, and all these. Clint Eastwood did Indian Horse. You've got all these big producers, movie stars that are backing the Native movies. You got Kevin Costner, you've got Clint Eastwood, there's a lot of them that support these films. And if you look, directed by or produced by, and they're in there.
Right. It's so nice to have them taking us so seriously and
It is.
push aside the Adam Sandlers.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Far away. Yeah,
Far away.
Get away from us. Don't you ever do that again. Well, the list, how many films will you be premiering or showing?
We'll be showing Sweetheart Dancers and Blackwater, the series, and then Chambers.
How many on total?
3.
3? And date, time?
Saturday evening, Philbrook, 6 p.m.
No, this is not the Circle where a lot of these things have happened.
We're not doing anything at the Circle right now.
Okay.
So we're at the Philbrook Museum, auditorium. And
Big fancy house. Yeah, I toured that once as a kid. Wow, look
they
at
hold a lot of Native events there.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, I went down and walked through their museum, their art museum down by Guthrie Green. Wow, I didn't know you guys did this.
Yeah, right across the street.
I always thought that Philbrook was all this fancy white guy stuff. But no, it was.
Yeah, Christina Burke works with them, and she's big supporter. Big supporter.
How do you see the future of this festival in
growing? We're growing every year. We're doing something different with it every time. So I think, like I said, we're going into the 5th year, and I think it'll get bigger and better every year.
Is that because of the number of entries, or what?
Both attendance, entries, more stories to tell. So I think it's growing, and it'll be really big one day.
Okay, any more Creek films in there?
Not this time.
Yeah, Mr. Harger was quiet this year.
We need more Native filmmakers and more Native movies to tell our story. That's the bottom line.
I agree there, and I think that something I think is encouraging is you hear more kids saying, well, I want to do this. I want to make movies about our own people. One of my pet phrases are our own stories with our own voices. And I'll be using a camera too.
Yes.
Okay, well, I tell you what, we're going to wrap this up, and if you would give us one more time, date, time, what are the ticket prices, by the way?
I think they start at $25. I think they are $25. But there's, if you check on Facebook, our Tribal Film Festival Facebook page, there is a discount, or there should be on there.
Is that an Indian discount?
It's a Creek discount.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, Mvskoke.
Okay, it's Saturday, June 8th at the Philbrook at 6 p.m. And we'll have our special guest, Marcus Lavoie from Chambers. He plays Uncle Frank Yalsey in the film.
All right.
So everybody's welcome.
Well, thank
Please
you,
come.
Ruth Bible. We appreciate it, and we'll try and get down there and try and talk somebody into an Indian discount.
Okay, Mado.
Well, I tell you what, here we are going to break the ice for Lindsay Heck. She is an OSU student, and are you majoring in broadcast or journalism?
I'm a strategic communications major. I'm gonna plan on double majoring.
Let's do that again.
I'm a strategic communication major. I'm gonna double major in sports media as well.
Okay, there we go. Now we can hear you. It helps if you get the microphone turned up. Sports, you mean like play-by-players, sitting on a sideline analysis, or what?
I hope so. I want to be at the games, watching it, and being able to talk about what's going on in the moment.
Watch football for free, then.
Basketball.
Basketball,
That's my
okay.
sport. Gotta love basketball.
I always fall into the trap of football is a religion in Oklahoma.
It really is, but I'm a basketball gal.
Okay, well, I'm sure you got many of supporters. Well, why don't you kick off our community announcement segment? What have you got first?
First up, we have Mvskoke Nation Lighthorse Police Department is hosting a summer safety camp from June 4th through 6th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. It ranges from ages 13 to 5. You're going to go over drug awareness, first aid, and cultural awareness. They're only accepting the first 20 girls and boys, though. For your application, you can call 918-732-7813 or email Melissa Beaver at mbeaver, B-E-A-V-E-R, at mcn-nsn.gov.
Okay, if you're still interested in free vegetable and flower seeds, the Mvskoke Creek Nation Conservation District has some tips and some free seeds. So I don't know if they've ever run out of them, though, but they've still got a notice out, so we're going to put them on the spot. That's the Natural Resource Conservation District, 918-549-2609. And they'll be giving some tips, too, on how to sample your soil, mulch, and how it should be used, how to keep tabs on your garden to keep ahead of those potential problems, and like maybe a deer getting in there and eating everything you just grew. And try to harvest vegetables during the cool hours of the day. So that's 918-549-2609.
Mvskoke Creek Nation is hosting its 9th annual football camp. It's open to all students grades 1 through 12. It's free for Mvskoke citizens and $5 for non-Mvskoke citizens. Registration required. On-site registration available on the site at 8 a.m. For more info on this, you can go to mcn.nsn.gov. That's wrong. mcn-nsn.gov.
Okay, well, you handled it wonderfully. A little nervous there?
Very nervous.
Well, that's all right. It's radio. Nobody can watch you there.
That's true.
Okay, sounds like you've got an interesting future in broadcast, so we hope you will stick with us, work with this program while you're here, and a successful career. Okay, what else do we need to put out there? The Mvskoke Market is now open in the tribal complex, the Solomon McCombs complex. Right now they've got some popular snacks and drinks for sale at pretty reasonable prices. Plus, if you've ever been interested in the Mvskoke media merchandise, that is all available there, everything from cups and caps to T-shirts and hoodies. So we hope that you will take advantage of that and stop by and give us some support. That's one of the ways we get to do what we get to do. All right, it's time for me to get out of here. We want to say Mvskoke Radio, Mado Mabo Hedgetskat. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.